Hello there, good morning and welcome to the third episode of our Splatoon 3 Weapons Guide series, where I go through each weapon type and try to introduce them to the best of my knowledge, their playstyle and roles, and help you guide yourself to the weapons that suit you the best. Last episode was about rollers, every new player's bane, and today we'll go through one of Splatoon's main Slayer class weapon, the Dualies. First of all, keep in mind the series is intended for new players and others who seek basic overview of a weapon, and information about weapon types, and so everything I say should be taken as basic introduction. Apart from the weapon series, I have also several other guides and interactive videos about all contents in Splatoon, and if you're interested, check out the rest of my channel as it's really appreciated, and I'm grateful for all the support I've been getting with Splatoon. Now let's dive in. Dualies, as the name suggests, are Splatoon's dual pistols that are possibly one of the most aggressive and mobile shooting weapon types in the game, with a unique mechanic, dodge rolling. They excel at mobility and damage, which is why most Dualies are considered extremely good Slayer class weapons, but some are also excellent supports. Dualies are often considered frustrating to a lot, mostly because of their dodge roll, as it provides them very quick evasive movement that if someone's not prepared for or not used to, it can get quite tough to aim accurately and punish them, often resulting in getting splatted. Similarly, like melee weapons, they excel at close-range combat with a few exceptional dualies that are good at range too, but since dualies are guns, they are still very capable of using their range to their advantage, especially if they master the dodge rolls. Dodge rolls are available to all dualies through pressing the B button while shooting. This will make your Inkling dodge roll into the same direction you're moving, followed by a moment of stationary shooting or sliding depending on your dually, while also enjoying increased accuracy and fire rate until further movement. As I hinted, different dualies have different dodge roll mechanics assigned to them that are worth testing for yourself in the testing ground, since they really change the field of weapons, such as dually squelcher sliding after a dodge roll into a direction, or the tetra dualies capable of 4 consecutive dodges instead of the normal 2. Dualies also come in different styles that usually play around their range, where the Dapple Dualies are very short-ranged and the Gluga Dualies are much slower shooting and long-range guns. Mastering the dodge roll is crucial to the weapon type, as it's the unique mechanic that gives them the edge around close combat and separate them from other guns. I would recommend Dualies for people who are looking for one of the fastest playstyles in Splatoon and have above average skills when it comes to accuracy or tracking enemy players, as it's one of the greatest challenges for most beginners starting this weapon. Dualies in general are considered Slayer weapons, and so it's recommended for players who would prefer to be on the front lines, focusing on splitting enemy players and mastering dodge rolling, to use them unexpectedly or even use them for mind games to outmaneuver your opponents. If that sounds like you, prepare yourself for a challenge and grab those dualies. Now let's talk about the weapon's difficulty. Dualies are very fast-paced weapons that require precise aiming, since their damage is generally considered low, and most of your performance is thanks to their fire rate instead. On top of that, dodge rolling is also one of the tougher mechanics to master, as not only is it challenging to adjust yourself to the twitchy aiming it requires, but dodging can be just as much a weakness as an advantage if used incorrectly, as dodge rolling uses ink and also leaves you vulnerable for a moment. For this reason, I would consider Dualies at least a 4-star difficulty weapon type that takes some bonus dedication to learn properly, and while they're a very accessible weapon, a lot of new players tend to immediately play around dodges, and usually it backfires more than it is to their advantage. Most Dualies are considered Slayer class weapons, and very effective ones at that. As a Slayer, you are the arrowhead of your team, and your primary goal is to split the enemy team. While you're still capable and some Dualies are even good at painting, the task is mostly left for support and backliners, while you should try your best to locate the enemy backline to disrupt them, or seek out the opponent's Slayers and engage in 1 versus 1 battles. In ranked mode, this means usually focusing around preventing the enemy team from getting to the objective, rather than playing the objective, as your fellow supports are probably better at that. But at the same time, you have to be mindful of your surroundings, as if you mindlessly charge ahead without taking into consideration where your team is, you can easily become a detriment to your team rather than a useful Slayer. Because of that, as a Slayer, you have to think what you would do if you were the enemy and maneuver around the stage, being aggressive, but at the same time staying the shield of your team. In my opinion, the most common mistake new players do with Dualies is not learning when it is the time to use your dodge roll and when it is not, and spam dodge rolls constantly, not only irritating the opponent but also completely messing up their own accuracy, turning the situation into a Western-style duel, bullets flying all over the place. I mentioned before that dodging can be just as much your weakness as your advantage, since Dualies are very ink hungry and dodging also leaves you vulnerable. On top of that, dodges can be very easily anticipated, and experienced players will aim at your dodge's endpoint where you are most vulnerable. So I personally recommend not spamming your dodges, but instead learn to use them for mobility to chase down some, or surprise from behind a wall for offense, and learn to use it mainly for defense in order to dodge away from slower weapons or keep your momentum. Sometimes not dodging is more helpful in achieving a faster splat than if you would waste your time dodging around. Just learn to use your dodge with a goal at mind rather than just pressing a button and hope for the best, and you will see your performance improve by a lot. Splatoon 3 introduced one of the greatest changes to Dualies by removing the damage up ability and finally allowing Dualies to build however they want. Similarly to other close-range weapons, I highly recommend taking Ninja Squid. Ninja Squid will hide most of your animations while moving around in swim form, and will let you hide or confuse your opponents about where you're swimming mid-combat. Just like for rollers, it's an incredibly useful ability to give you an edge in close quarters combat in Splatoon. But remember to also equip some swim speed up abilities to counter the swim speed penalty that Ninja Squid has. Now, on what additional abilities you take as a Slayer honestly depends a lot on your playstyle, but generally speaking, it is nice to have quick respawn, as Slayers tend to splat more and you want to get back into action sooner. For the same reason, quick super jump is also good to save time getting back to the thick of combat, or there is ink resistance that is also incredibly useful, as you will spend much time in enemy ink or at least close to enemy ink, and if you didn't know, standing in enemy ink actually damages you. It's also worth to look into the rest of the abilities and choose based on your playstyle that you think would fit the best. You run out of ink a lot? Get Ink Saver. Do you use Squid Surge or Squid Roll a lot? Get Intensify Action. And now we got to sub-weapons and specials for Dualies, and I have to say Dualies are all around incredible in Splatoon 3. It's actually unbelievable, but I think all of them have excellent kits, with maybe the Dapple Dualies falling behind a bit. It's not that beacons are not useful, they're definitely very powerful in Splatoon 3, and Tacticooler is nuts with how many different abilities it grants to players drinking from it, but it doesn't really complement the weapon well, and they're just kind of there as a support. For all the others, Suction Bomb, Splat Bomb, and Auto Bomb all speak for themselves as excellent tools for more harassment, while the Splash Wolf or the Gluga Dualies are great example of that complementary sub-weapon that the Dapple is missing. Their specials are also exactly what you need. Wavebreaker being just annoying enough to reduce the amount of shots needed for splats, while Reef Slider, Booyah Bomb, and Crab Tank offering some excellent splatting opportunities and even zone control for a lot of the maps. All in all, I really love all the Dualies kits, and I think they work very well with their playstyles. Splatoon 3 is, I think, the golden age of Dualies, and they feel incredibly satisfying and fun to play with right now. And I say that as someone whose least favorite weapons are probably Dualies. They just play really smooth, and as we just talked about them, their kits are useful and fun. There's just no bad choice, and now that they have freedom for what abilities they can use on their clothing, this is the best time to pick up Dualies. But aside of all that, the mandatory reminder that what you're having fun with is the most important aspect of playing any weapon. Whatever you hear about Dualies in this video or from others, what matters the most is if you want to play them or not. As a weapon you're excited about playing with is the best way to improve. So remember to have fun first and foremost, and remember that with dedication you can get to the top with any of the weapons, as some professional players have already proven to us. But that is it for our third episode of the weapons series for Splatoon 3, everyone. I have to admit, this is probably going to be my most challenging episode, since Dualies are my least favorite weapons, but I hope I've still done a good job at selling them to you. Well, maybe I guess shooters are gonna be harder, because that's just such a huge category. As usual, if I missed anything, please let us know in the comment section, as help and feedback is always welcome, and it's always nice to see some other players' input. More episodes will be released for the weapon series, so look forward to them and consider subscribing if you like the video. Thank you very much for the support. We have reached 25,000 subscribers and we're growing. The Splatoon community has been nothing but welcoming, and I couldn't be happier, so thank you. That is it for this video. Thank you all for your time, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye bye.